CCTV Camera World is proud to provide support for products purchased from our website. If you purchased your product from another vendor, please contact the vendor you purchased from for further assistance.
So this video from CCTV Camera World is going to show you how to make PoE cameras that are 4 megapixel 4K wireless using an access point with a PoE switch in between. So you can beam that signal from, let's say, a barn where the cameras are located to another access point that's connected to a router, so you can watch those cameras through an iPad or an iPhone or your laptop, or even through a connected recorder. So these cameras are plugged in here, and then the signal for that video coming from these cameras goes over these two cables, the blue cables, and it enters the PoE ports on this PoE switch. It doesn't matter which PoE port you use, but I just have them connected to 2 and 4. These are PoE ports, and these are uplink ports because these are not powered. They only send data, whereas these send both power and data to and from the cameras. Power and data carries the video signal to the switch. That video signal over data comes out as black cable and is connected to this thing, which is called a PoE injector. And this is specifically for an access point that's plugged in to my access point right here, which is basically sending the Wi-Fi signal. And this is responsible for sending the video to another paired access point on the other end. These could be 1,000 feet away, 2,000 feet away. So let's say you've got these cameras located internally inside your barn. You take Cat5 Ethernet cables, plug them in to the Cat5 jacks on the cameras. Make sure when you actually mount the cameras, you enclose these pigtails inside of a junction box to protect them from getting impacted by the elements. You don't use this connection. This is for testing in case for some reason your camera is not working. It's a 12-volt DC jack. It's used with a 12-volt DC adapter only. Usually those adapters look like that, like a little power brick. Just got to make sure that it's rated for 12-volt DC. So now let me just show you about the radio itself, the access point. The access points themselves are outdoor rated. You can mount them using some wiring harnesses to a mast, preferably PVC, not metal. You could use wood too, but please try to stay away from metal. If you do, keep in mind that if you have lightning nearby, it's going to impact the access points, and it could actually seep back into your network, into the cameras, and even destroy all of them or some of those components. It's just something, unfortunately, that we have to deal with in nature. But getting back to the access points here, on the bottom, you'll see there are 2 connections. You're using the Ethernet connection, plugging an Ethernet cable through there. There's a cap that comes with these access points. Make sure you put that on to safeguard this from exposure to the elements. The cable coming from the access point connects into the PoE port of this injector that's meant only for the access points and not for the cameras. And the cable coming in from your access point should plug into the PoE side here. And then another cable should go from the LAN side into the uplink port on your PoE switch. And that's why I have this black cable right there. This is a non-powered port, only for data, like I explained before. To recap, the cameras go into the PoE ports. Your switch may be 4 ports, 8 ports, 16 ports, regardless of how many PoE ports it's got. It should have 2 uplink ports, and it should have the appropriate number of PoE ports, and the PoE ports are where the cameras get connected to. Take care in mounting your cameras properly so that their pigtail doesn't get exposed. What happens is there are, in fact, gold pins inside these connectors, and if you don't mount these cameras correctly, these gold pins in there, they'll get rusted out and the camera won't work anymore, and it's really difficult to make them work again. And to recap, the access point, then the injector needs a 110 power source to plug into power so that it can juice the access point and take that data coming from the switch and send it wirelessly. So what's happening in all this is this switch plays the integral part along with the access point. Cameras send data to the switch takes the data coming from the cameras here out, puts it to this injector there for the access point. It mixes that data up with power and sends it to the access point, and the access point beams it across to another access point that's been configured to talk to it. This can go up to 1,000 feet. That's why Wi-Fi access points are very good for Wi-Fi setups these days. And you can even use pan-tilt zoom cameras or cameras with audio. It gives you a lot more options there. And on the other side, before I recap how to use this access point, I'll just show you an overview. The access point is sending data back into its injector right there. And that's also getting electrified back to the access point. So the red cable is PoE. Okay, and that's what's going into the access point. Very similar to how I just showed you the one at the camera side. So now the data cable from the LAN, there you go, that is connecting into my router. I have a Wi-Fi router because I want to be able to connect my phone into the network inside this router so I can watch those cameras independently from my iPad. On the back of the router, let me show you what you've got. You've got your power supply connected, which is connected to 110. You've got this black cable that's going to the injector, the LAN side. And I'm recapping some of the things I've already explained so you can follow this video if you're setting this up for yourself. And the blue cable, in this case, is going to my recorder, if you see in the background right there. And it's lit up. That tells you that that port there, the green and amber lights tell you the network port on my recorder is getting data. And of course, that's powered itself. But if you wanted to just not have a recorder, you could have that access point in your home along with this router, and then just watch the cameras from your iPad or from a laptop by logging into the Wi-Fi network of this router. If you wanted to get more fancier, you could connect a recorder of ours, like I have here, and then connect it to an HDMI cable, a USB mouse, and its power supply, so that you can watch those cameras on a screen 24/7. And the video is pretty fluid. Let me show you. I'm gonna wave my hands like this over these two cameras so you can watch how fluid the video is. I'm going from one camera to another. So this is cam 1 and this is cam 2. So I'm going 1 to 2, 1 to 2. There's practically no delay. Now you can have delay if you increase the gap in between these two access points, or you introduce more obstructions in between. Say if you were to place these two things, these two Wi-Fi radios about 1,000 feet away, no obstructions, the signal will be very close to what you just saw. Very little lag in video between the actual motion happening and it appearing on the monitor. However, if you were to put, let's say, a metal wall or a brick wall or concrete wall, you will expect either degradation of how many frames per second you're getting and increase in lag in the video that you see on that recorder. Now, if you're watching it from your iPad, keep in mind, you're now then using a Wi-Fi link from the router here to go into the iPad. That introduces its own lag. So for most applications, it doesn't matter. It's still pretty much lifelike. So maybe a second delay at most, or a half a second delay. So keep that in mind if you're trying to do something that's very critical to processes monitoring, like manufacturing something and seeing when machinery gets stuck. You will have some video lag there. So to recap, I'm gonna take a bird's eye view and show you everything one more time. For this case, I'm doing this in a barn. I'm gonna put my PoE switch, my two hardwired cameras, connect them into the PoE switch, connect the PoE switch with a cable into the LAN port on the PoE injector, and connect my radio to the PoE port on the PoE injector power both the switch and the injector for the access point with 110 power. You have to use hardwired power. When you use a generator or solar panel, there's a risk that you'll damage the equipment. Unfortunately, there's nothing that can be done about that if it does get damaged, but it is possible to use it, but you're doing it at your own risk. Now, the signal gets beamed wirelessly to your other radio on the other side that captures that Wi-Fi signal, dumps it into the router, and the router is a point where you can access it using either a wired recorder that can display a constant feed on the monitor, or if you just want the convenience of watching it from your iPad, you can use an iPad to link to the Wi-Fi on that access point, or you can even use a laptop. Now I'm going to show you how to set up your system so that you can view this wireless system from your iPad using our app. So to begin the setup of connecting to my wireless system, I need to first look at the configuration of my router. So it tells me my SSID and my Wi-Fi pass, which is my password for that SSID. So I'm going to go to my iPad, and before I actually connect to that router, I'm going to go download my app. So I go to the app store. If you get any of these messages, you can bypass them. All right, so you're going to search for the app, press the search button, type in DMSS. So for these cameras, they're part of our premium series of cameras. So these PoE cameras use the DMSS app. You want to download this app right there. I've already downloaded before once. That's why it doesn't say get. In your case, it'll say get. Make sure you get or install it. And once it downloads, then we can proceed over to connecting to our Wi-Fi router. Okay, now it says open. The app will launch. It'll ask you if you want notifications, allow. Allow for critical alerts as well. Now, depending on how long it's been since we made this video and you're actually watching this, you may see the app look a little bit different, but the premise of the setup is the same. This tells you about the app a little bit. You can fast forward into that. Please select your region. It's recommended to be United States. Just click on that, automatically selected, hit done. And it says, do you agree to our service agreement? You can read through it. Press next. So it's asking if you're importing devices. You can skip that section. And then you don't need to log in. We do not log in when we do any of these things. You can scale the app by pressing the button on the bottom right. Now, to log into my router, what I need to do is sign on to this SSID in this case. So I'm going to press the button here on the bottom to home button and navigate over to settings and then switch my Wi-Fi to the network coming from my router. Now keep in mind there are, in this case, we basically note our Wi-Fi radios by order number. So this is the appropriate SSID you should be connecting to. That's the one without anything after the letter 7. Type in the password. We randomize our passwords. Once you've entered your password, press the word join. So now what's going to happen is, if it connected, you'll see the ID match the ID on the top of the label on your router that we put on. So now you can actually connect to it using the app. Go to plus sign, click on IP domain, click camera. If you're actually not using a recorder, you're not connecting to the recorder, but instead just connecting to the cameras independently, you have to add them independently by looking at the labels on the camera boxes or the cameras, and you look at these IP addresses. So this says 192.168.2.12, username admin, and that's the password. And for cam 2, it's 192.168.2.13. So I'm not selecting anything but wired camera. They're actually wired cameras that have been made wireless. So here I leave the port alone. Now I type in the address. It's telling me I can speed up, etc. I'm just gonna put that in. So here I'm almost done typing in the IP address of the first one. So it was 192.168.2.12. And the device name, you can type cam1. And username is the password that's on the label. Okay, done. If you want to make sure you enter the right password, that's there. Okay, hit save. Would you like to find and connect to devices on your local network? Yeah, why not? Okay. If you get an error that says log out or something like that, let's try it one more time. And it says the device will be used under a non-account. That's fine, and you can actually see my hand waving, so this one camera is done. So to add the second camera, what I could do is go back, and then I click on the plus sign, IP domain, wired camera, give its IP address, put it in there. So that's 192.168.2.13. The device name, I'm going to say cam2. And then the password, I'm going to type in. Please do not change the passwords if you're not familiar with how these things work, because you can actually lock yourself out. Confirm you entered the right password. Hit done, hit save. It says device will not be used under account. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Here's my second camera, and I can see it waving. I see myself waving my hand. So now, both cameras are working now. I can hold and move it to the right. Then I can go back here, click on cam 1, click on IPC, and add both of them together, and I can watch them at the same time. Okay? We'll show you how to add favorite views in a different video, but this is just to get you started so you can actually start watching the cameras on there. So when I close out of my app, and I go back to my app, it'll say permission request, that this requires local network access. Say set. Give it local network access, which is good. In my case, this is to the right, which is green. I can go back and ignore it if it gives me that prompt again, but we're good. Now I can go to live. And depending on what you were watching before, it'll go back to those two cameras again that you had there. You can also listen to audio if you've enabled the audio on the cameras. To hear the audio from the cameras, what you do is you click on the speaker icon right there. Hello? 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 You can hear me snapping right there. You can listen to one camera at a time. Now if you want to focus on the other one, you have to turn on the audio first. If you notice, when I pressed on it, that turned into an X right there on the speaker. Hello? 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 Now if I turn this one off, go to here. This one's still on. And that's off. Right? That's how you actually listen to the audio. So that pretty much shows you how to watch your PoE cameras over the Wi-Fi connection in your wireless system by using our app on the iPad. The iPhone is the same exact way. Now let me show you how you can watch them on a PC. So here is my Windows laptop, and I have our Smart PSS software where I've already added the cameras over there. So you can view the cameras in full screen. You can view them like I just showed you, one at a time or in 4 in a grid. If you only have 2 cameras, unfortunately, you can't just have them side by side. You're always going to see a grid of 4. You can click on the top here. If you look closely, there's a speaker icon. You can hear the audio coming in. Now, when you watch these through a laptop, there might be this lag. If you just notice that, there's about a second or so delay. And that's natural for Wi-Fi security camera systems to have that, especially when you're watching them through the Wi-Fi medium. You're introducing delay every time you send video from the cameras over the Wi-Fi network and then watch them over a Wi-Fi network as well. And here's, for completeness sakes, a second camera. Right, that's there. And keep in mind, you can only watch 1 camera at a time. To add these cameras, you have to actually go into Devices, search your local network, press the Add button, and type in your IP address. Give them a name. Give their IP address, like I showed you when I was adding them to the iPad. Username and password, and add 2 of the cameras. And I have 2 entries for those cameras right here. IP address of 192.168.212 and 213. I named them the same. So this is the name column. This is the IP address columm. I selected the device as being an IP camera, which is IPC, and the port number 377, username and password, and that's what got them all working here. Now, getting back to this setup, I think I've shown you in its entirety how to, an overview of the system, how to connect everything together, how to watch them through your iPad and through a laptop, and even a recorder if you wanted. A couple of points I want to make. So if you're buying a system like this from us at CCTV Camera World, we'll label everything. So this access point is labeled as well. In this case, this goes at the home where the router is. And this access point too goes along with your previous switch and your cameras to, let's say, in your barn where the cameras are going to be. That's one thing. And if you're really into having dedicated video show up on your monitor and you just don't want something on your iPad only, you can get a recorder from us. That recorder could be an NVR that has an HDMI output just like this over there, connecting to a monitor. Or you can even buy a XVR from us that has the capability to not only stream IP cameras like it's doing right now, but also some BNC cameras. So you can form a hybrid professional security camera system that's both BNC cameras, analog security cameras. It is PoE cameras over a wire network. You can put this into a switch if you wanted, or a Wi-Fi camera system as well. So professional security cameras, in contrast to what you find from home consumers, these are what professional security cameras entail. There's a lot more to it than just scanning a QR code and getting them to work on an app. You have to do this wiring. It takes a lot of knowledge, and that's what we provide at CCTV Camera World. Providing systems that are pre-configured for our customers to go and deploy at their side without needing the knowledge to. By using these videos, we guide them on how to set up a system. So in this case, we did a lot of configuration here on this side to get everything working together so it can beam the signal over to that side into the router so you can watch them on your iPad, your DVR, or your PC. Hopefully you understand kind of the complexity of these systems and how we make them easy for you as a consumer to purchase from CCTV Camera World and afford a professional quality security camera system. Thanks for watching.
If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.